the whip is to derotate the cuboid. So essentially, one of the common gives is between the cuboid and the cuneiform, because your feet, you can put your foot down. Thanks. Your foot is split into a medial and lateral foot, and you can, in order to create the transverse arch, you get this rounding of the foot this way. There's your transverse arch. So the two that fold on each other are the cuboid and the cuneiform. So if you have laxity there, or if you end up flattening your foot, splaying out your foot, what can happen is, I'm on a right foot, so this hand is the cuboid can rotate like that. All right, and it's not that dramatic, but what it does is it off tracks. It'll rotate that way, so then when you try and dome your foot, you can't. So what we do is we put the foot in a position so that we can get on the back of the cuboid and give it a whip. So now it allows the foot to be able to go into that transverse arch.
How did that present?
How did that present?
Yeah.
They weren't able to get a good foot dome. They weren't able to plant the first ray. You tried your mobilizations on the first ray. As they're trying to engage the intrinsics of the foot, they can't get that whole tripod stack that we did. They're just not getting a good dome. Or even if they do it, it's a very labored dome, and the second they try and go onto the forefoot, they just flatten out their foot. This is the most common dancer subluxation that they achieve, because they're on point and they have to come up onto it and they can bulk out.
That's how it happened.
That's how, yeah. So in ballet, yeah. Runners too.
What are we talking about?
How, what happened in
What
softball?
about
I went to play first and I got into collision.
Where did they
Are we
play?
learning how to fix it?
This way. The pitcher was running this way and I stepped this way and I ran him over.
Is that what happened? So with hit there was essentially like a plant and rotation that somehow rotated the cuboid. You can also get this from a rapid deceleration of an inversion sprain, because you have your peroneus longus, so people who have sensitive cuboids. Your peroneus longus that goes right around the cuboid tracks through there. If it fires rapidly to try and decelerate the inversion, that can rotate the cuboid. So essentially, if you have a rotation around your foot, which is essentially what you had, that could rotate the cuboid as well. All right. So what you do here, you have your cuboid. You're going to find the extensor digitorum brevis. Actually, yeah, turn around. Just have a seat for a second. I'm just going to quick foot tour. So extensor digitorum brevis, the meat of the extensor digitorum brevis, that's going to be your cuboid. You find the tuberosity of the fifth. You go proximal to the tuberosity of the fifth. That's your the outside of your cuboid. So then you're going to come down and you're going to palpate on the bottom, because we'll be looking at the plantar aspect of the foot. So our thumb will be over the extensor digitorum brevis, over the cuboid, and then our fingers are going to be on the plantar aspect of the cuboid. Okay? And then what you do is you grab a foot so you can see it. Here it comes down. Patient holds on. Give the leg back like this. You okay there?
Yes.
I'm going to do a technique where I just rapidly move your leg like that. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, you always want to check that, because it wouldn't be uncommon if someone has knee sensitivity and you're doing this. So if this bothers their knee or their hip, then you're going to have to do it with them lying down, but it's a little harder. All right, so I find my position, extensor digitorum brevis, tuberosity of the fifth, go in, and I'll go to the plantar aspect of the cuboid. You can find the navicular and try and find the lateral cuneiform, so that you just know essentially the joint that you're targeting. I hug this, I place my thumb, it's going to be basically in the center of the foot, on the back of the cuboid. Now, and then the fingers go on the metatarsals, so that you can hold the metatarsal. You can back up your thumbs together like this. Okay, so now what I have, make sure you engage your thumb flexors, because when you whip, you don't want your eyepiece to whip into extension. You're trying to create a rigid connection with your hand, and notice what I'm doing. I'm essentially doming his transverse arch, because that's going to start to spin his cuboid back into the right position. I get into the position here. You okay there?
Yes.
Now I'm stiff with the foot. I'm going to let go because I can't hold it for that long. I get stiff into the foot, and then I whip. Okay? So I come in here. Okay, you okay with that pressure?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm just going to do a little whip. Is that okay?
Yep.
And there it is.
Is the whip so it's forward back?
So the whip goes this way. Your intention is, your force comes from the pushback. So as you're sending the intention forward, you got to push back as fast as you push forward. So from here, I have him, I don't have him in full plantar flexion, and when I whip him, don't go into full plantar flexion. Rest your foot down for a second. The whip comes from a rapid ulnar deviation. I go back and forth like this, and I whip into ulnar deviation. So if everyone takes their hand like this, sets up the thumbs as if they're on the cuboid, you're gonna go back and forth, and as you rock him forward, you get the whip. That's it. Nice.
Okay, cool.
Okay? Make sure that you're not in full plantar flexion as you're practicing. Don't start, see, I'm in full plantar flexion. You whip in full plantar flexion, then we're gonna have to manipulate the towels back into the mortise. Right? So start in neutral so that the whip, you have plenty of playroom. Okay? Here we go.
So